A merchant vessel found completely abandoned, sails set, cargo intact, but the captain's breakfast still warm on the table, and no one has ever figured out where the crew went. The record shows this. On December 4th, 1872, the merchant brigantine Mary Celeste was spotted off the coast of Portugal by the crew of another ship, the Dei Gratia. What they found defied explanation. The Mary Celeste was under full sail, moving through the water on its own with no living soul aboard. Not one. The hatches were open. The crew's belongings were still in their quarters, and below deck in the captain's cabin. A meal sat on the table, partially eaten, as if abandoned mid-bite. Exhibit 1, the ship itself was seaworthy. The Mary Celeste was built in 1861, a 103-foot brigantine registered out of New York. She wasn't a wreck. Her hull was sound, her rigging intact. The sails were set in a way that suggested a deliberate departure, not a panicked evacuation. The vessel was carrying a full cargo of industrial alcohol, 701 barrels, valued at roughly $37,000 at the time. Nothing had been stolen, nothing had been forced open. Exhibit 2, the crew's personal effects. The captain's cabin contained his logbook, his navigational instruments, his watch. His wife's clothing hung in the wardrobe. Their daughter's toys were arranged on a shelf. In the crew's quarters, pipes lay on bunks. Oilskin jackets hung on pegs. A shaving kit sat unopened. The men hadn't taken so much as a change of clothes. They'd simply vanished. Exhibit 3, the lifeboat was gone. The only evidence of a struggle, if you could call it that, was the absence of the Mary Celeste's single lifeboat. It wasn't on the davits. It wasn't lashed to the deck. The boat had been cut loose or lowered away, leaving behind a vessel full of provisions and no means for the crew to have reached land. The record indicates the cut marks on the davits were examined, but no conclusive determination was made about the sequence of events. The captain of the Dei Gratia, David Morehouse, made the discovery. He knew the Mary Celeste. He'd seen her in New York just weeks before. When his crew spotted her drifting, they boarded her cautiously. Below deck, they found the captain's cabin in order. The table bore traces of a meal. The logbook's final entry was dated November 24th. For 10 days, the ship had sailed itself across the Atlantic with no one at the helm. The crew roster: Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, age 37. His wife Sarah Cobb Briggs, age 30. Their daughter Sophia Matilda Briggs, age 2. 7 crew members whose names appear in the manifest but whose fates remain unknown. The captain was experienced, well-regarded. His wife was literate and kept a diary. There's no record of conflict, mutiny, or discord among the crew. By all accounts, it was a normal voyage. The ship departed New York on November 7th, 1872. The destination was Genoa, Italy. The voyage was routine. The route was established. By all documented evidence, the crew should have arrived in Europe without incident. But somewhere between the American coast and the Portuguese waters where she was found, every single person aboard, 10 souls in total, left the ship and entered the historical record as a mystery. The theories emerged quickly. Mutiny was suggested. The captain's crew might have rebelled, overpowered him, cast the family adrift in the lifeboat, but the record offers no evidence of violence, no blood, no signs of struggle. The captain's cabin showed no forced entry. His instruments were undisturbed. A mutiny of that kind would have left traces. Explosion was another theory. Perhaps the alcohol cargo had ignited. A fire below deck would have forced an evacuation. But here's what the record shows. The hatches were not blown. The cargo hold was intact. No scorch marks, no burn damage. The barrels remained sealed. If there'd been an explosion, the Mary Celeste would have borne the scars. Piracy was proposed. Raiders had boarded, terrorized the crew, forced them into the lifeboat, and let the ship drift. But the record contradicts this. The cargo was untouched. A pirate crew would have seized the alcohol, worth a fortune in any port. They wouldn't leave a fully laden ship to wander the ocean, and there were no reports of pirate activity in that region at that time. The official investigation concluded with frustration. Lloyd's of London examined the evidence. The insurance company's representatives boarded the Mary Celeste, interviewed the Dei Gratia's crew, reviewed the logbook. They found no definitive cause, no crime, no accident. The record states only the crew disappeared. The reason remains unknown. Here's what makes this case different from speculation. The Mary Celeste was found. The ship wasn't lost. The cargo wasn't destroyed. The vessel was recovered, salvaged, and documented. We have the physical evidence. The logbook entries, the crew manifest, the captain's personal effects. We have facts. What we don't have is the crew. Some researchers have suggested a waterspout. A tornado at sea might have swept the crew overboard in a single catastrophic moment. The record shows no damage consistent with such an event. No broken masts, no torn sails. Others propose a sudden leak that the crew feared would sink the ship, so they abandoned her in the lifeboat. But the hull was sound. No water was found in the hold. The lifeboat has never been found. If the crew took it and reached land, no record of their arrival exists. No port has a documented landing of 10 shipwrecked sailors in late November 1872. No bodies washed ashore. No distress signals were ever received. The ocean kept its secret. The Mary Celeste herself was eventually repaired and returned to service. She sailed for another 12 years under various captains and flags, but the ship never escaped the shadow of that November day. Crews refused to sail her. Owners couldn't find insurance at reasonable rates. She was renamed, reconfigured, and finally abandoned. The ship that found the ghost crew became a ghost ship herself. The record is clear. On December 4th, 1872, a fully crewed merchant vessel was found completely empty. The sails were set. The cargo was intact. The captain's meal was still on the table, and no satisfactory explanation has ever been offered. 10 people entered a lifeboat and vanished from history. The case remains officially unsolved. This case has never been solved because the evidence doesn't point in one direction. There's no smoking gun, no body, no wreckage, no confession. Just a ship sailing on and a family that stepped into a lifeboat and stepped out of existence. The mystery persists because the facts themselves are contradictory. Everything points to a crew that had no reason to leave, yet every indication that they did. Subscribe so you don't miss the next unsolved case, where the evidence exists, but the truth doesn't.